I'm going to start by creating a new project in ArtCam, blank project, and we're going to save the relief layer as a TIFF file, 16-bit TIFF file, and we do this in ArtCam because you get a better quality project if you do that rather than starting in Photoshop. We open the TIFF file in Photoshop, and using the gradient tool set to difference, we draw two gradients from opposite corners of the canvas. You'll notice that there's a lot of black, and we don't want black because black equals 0. So we're going to sample, using the eyedropper tool, a bit of gray from the fringe where the two sections, the black and the gray, meet. And then we select the black area, and we're going to expand it a bit so that we're a bit into the gray area, and then we're going to feather the edge so that there's a soft transition when we fill the black area with the sampled color. We fill it, and now we're going to expand again and run a bit of a Gaussian blur to make sure that the transition is smooth from the gray to the new not quite so black area. Here we go. Now we're going to go to the liquefy tool, and using the twirl portion of the tool, we're going to start to modify the image. The liquefy tool is a very useful tool for the sort of work that I do, and I use it a great deal. You can see the image being transformed. You keep in mind that what's white is pure white is max Z, pure black is 0, and everything in between is a different point on Z. And there we have it. Now we're going to create a new layer above the background layer, and using the pen tool we're going to create a couple of paths. Path is very similar to a vector. May even be exactly the same as a vector. I'm not certain that it is, but it certainly does seem to be very vector-like. That's one. Create one from the other side. These paths are going to be used to define the path of a brush stroke, and it's going to be the brush stroke that's going to give us the detail, the fine detail or the textural detail of the model. There we go. Now we take the selection tool after having selected a brush, and we open the brush palette, and you can see that we're using shape dynamics to control the behavior of the brush stroke. There's lots of brushes that you can use. There's thousands of them available on the internet, and you can create your own. I have quite a large collection of brushes. Select a path, use stroke subpath brush, and there's your texture detail. Do the same on the other side. Create another layer between the two existing layers, and we're going to fill this layer with white. We're now going to merge visible to bring the brush stroke and the white layer into one layer. Select the white and expand away from the white a bit. And we're going to select inverse and then give it a little bit of a Gaussian blur just to soften the sharpness of the brush stroke a bit. Don't want it too sharp. We're going to get too much sharpness in our model. Now we're going to select invert. We want to change black to white and white to black. No longer need the paths, so we'll select them and delete them. And now we'll save the file with just the background visible. Go to ArtCam. We're going to paste this saved TIFF file into ArtCam. We're going to give it a Z of 6 millimeters. And there we have it. Now you can see that we have an interesting shape. A few little things wrong here, or that need correcting. The center is very low and the edges are very high, but we'll deal with that in a minute. We're going to go back. We've gone back to our Photoshop and we're saving the texture layer. We're saving the file with the texture layer visible. Go back to ArtCam and we're going to paste this into ArtCam on a new layer. And we're going to give it a Z of 1.5 millimeters. And there's the new layer, and we paste, and there is the detail or the texture. Going back to the 3D view, you can see the texture or brush stroke has been added to the base model very nicely. As I said, you can see that the center is very low and the two edges are kind of high, so we're going to address that in Photoshop. We're going to address that using the burn tool and the dodge tool. Do that by saving the base relief as a TIFF file. Go back to Photoshop, open the Save TIFF file with the base relief, and we're going to select our dodge tool, and we're going to set that for midtones because we want to bring up the midtones in the center. We don't want to bring up the shadows or the highlights. We want the midtones. And you can see that happening in the center of the canvas. Now we save the file, go back to ArtCam, and for demonstration purposes I'm doing this in two sections. We'll lower the corners in a moment. Give it a Z of 6.5. In the mode of merge high. And paste. And you'll be able to see in a second that the center area has been punched up in detail quite a bit. Much better definition there. But as I said, the corners are too high, so we're going to go back to Photoshop and use the burn tool set to highlights. We want to lower the highlights or reduce the brightness of the highlights, which will lower the Z of those highlights. You can see the two corners are now quite a bit darker than they were. Save the file. Back to ArtCam. I'm going to reset because we want to get rid of those high corners. Paste the TIFF file in at a Z of 6.5. And you can see that we've got nice definition in this model, and Z is much more even across the top at its maximum level. Turn the relief layer 2 on with the textural detail, and you can see that texture nicely added to the base model or the base layer. Merge those two visible areas. And we're going to want to save the merge layer. Oops, okay, now we'll save the merged layer, and we're going to create a new layer here that's going to, not a new layer, a new relief that's slightly smaller than the project window, so that we have a finished edges. And there we have it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about anything that's been discussed in this video, please feel free to ask, and I will do my best to clarify. Thank you.